Hello everyone and welcome to our live coverage of Starlink Group 17-6 mission launching from the west coast, that is from Pad Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. If this is your first time here, hi, my name is Dipta Maitra, performing the commentary for today's mission launch, and you are watching AstroYonder live.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around.
Houston, we see a nominal MECO. Welcome to space.
You all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming SpaceX Starlink launch. But for sure, we know that you are much hyped for the upcoming Starlink Flight 10. We are just a couple of days away from that. Now, here we are today, super excited. Super excited bringing you the coverage of SpaceX's 530th overall launch and the 102nd Falcon 9 launch of this year. SpaceX just recently had their 100th overall successful mission launch for this year with the recent Kuiper Falcon 02, also known as KF2 mission. And recently Falcon 9 reached the same milestone of having its 100th launch for this year with the previous launch from Vandenberg here with Group 17-5 mission. Now it surpassed the 100 mark for this year, currently having 101 launches prior to this launch. Today is the 36th launch from Vandenberg for SpaceX as they continue building their incredible launch cadence for this year. Right now we are standing by for a Falcon 9 liftoff from California at 10:04 a.m. Pacific time, 1:04 p.m. Eastern time for a southwesterly launch for SpaceX Starlink mission. This Starlink mission, Group 17-6, will launch a batch of 24 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Now, before we get into the mission details, on behalf of AstroYonder team and our awesome moderators, thank you all for joining us for today's launch. We are so grateful to have you as part of the stream. Really appreciate you being here. Also, a huge shout out to our amazing YouTube community for the support as you bring you detailed coverage of space launches with all the stats and in-depth insights. We are truly grateful to have you all here with us. Now, I would really appreciate if you guys could join the chat and let us know from where you are tuning from. Additionally, please feel free to share any questions, suggestions, or opinion with us. We would love to hear from you guys. Once again, just a heads up, it's me only managing the launch coverages on my own. So if by chance we face any technical issues, please bear with me. There is absolutely nothing to worry about and you won't miss out anything. Be tuned in. I will do my best to guide you through the Falcon 9 rocket launch happening in approximately 44 minutes from now. Now let's get into the mission details. As we don't receive the launch weather forecast for Vandenberg flights from 45th Weather Squadron, but so far the reports suggest that the weather is looking good for today's Falcon 9 launch opportunity and the range is ready to support. Weather officials keeping a keen eye on the weather for any probability of launch weather constraint violations as well as range violations. The forecast calls for a temperature of 23 degrees Celsius, broken clouds with 69% cloud cover, and a wind speed of 6 miles per hour. Currently, it's a 95% go for the launch. Now, SpaceX did adjusted their liftoff time, pushing back the launch with 2 minutes. Previously, they were targeting 10:02 a.m. Pacific time, but currently they are targeting 10:04 a.m. Pacific time. But hope they won't be pushing it off too far, and we will be able to have launch on time. Now let's take a look into the payload details for today's Starlink Group 17-6 mission. Starlink satellites built in Redmond, Washington. Today's payload consists of 24 Starlink version 2 satellites. Today's launch is the 73rd dedicated Starlink mission of the year and the 292nd dedicated Starlink launch in total. Now, before diving into more details for today's payload, just a reminder, today's payload does not consist of any newer optimized version 2 mini satellites, which we are recently seeing in other SpaceX Starlink launches. And today's payload does not consist of any direct-to-cell satellites as well. These are just the regular and basic version 2 mini variant of the Starlink satellites. Before this launch, SpaceX had already sent up 1,786 Starlink satellites in 2025 this year alone. And with this one, the count jumps up to 1,810, crossing that 1,500 mark previously. And if we include the 22 version 3 variant launched back on 3 Starship flights this year, then it's a total of 1,832 Starlink satellites launched this year alone. SpaceX confirmed that in the upcoming 10th Starship flight test, a total of 8 Starlink simulators will be launched again. And really, we must agree that's really an incredible pace SpaceX is maintaining. Now, coming back to the payload details for Starlink satellites, some technicalities about the Starlink satellites. Each of these satellites having 5 advanced Ku band phased array antennas, 3 dual band parabolic antennas using Ka and E bands, and a dual solar array that spreads out to about 100 feet wide with a total surface area of 52.5 square meters. Also, not to forget, these 2 solar arrays are aeroneutral, which enable faster on-orbit maneuvers for the Starlink satellites. Each satellite is equipped with a high-capacity battery to provide power to the payloads. These Starlink satellites features 3 space laser transponders, also known as optical inter-satellite links, for intercommunication, communicating with space lasers moving data at speeds up to 200 gigabits per second. Starlink satellite make use of argon-fueled Hall effect thrusters for in-orbit maneuvering, which was previously based on Krypton. And SpaceX made this switch from Krypton to argon mainly due to the cost effectiveness of argon compared to Krypton. Now, just a quick context. Currently, we are having those Kuiper satellites on orbit, but the Kuiper satellites are based on Krypton-fueled Hall effect thrusters. Now, just to give you a quick context that why SpaceX made this switch from Krypton to argon. Relative to Krypton, the argon required to fuel Starlink version 2 satellites will be practically free. To put these things into perspective, fueling its next constellation of almost 30,000 version 2 satellites could cost SpaceX less than fueling 4000 version 1 satellites, which were based on Krypton. So that makes a huge difference for them and for the cost cutting. Also, SpaceX claims that its second generation thrusters using argon has 2.4 times the thrust and 1.5 times the specific impulse of the previously Krypton fuel thrusters. Today's batch is going to be deployed initially in an orbit with an altitude of approximately 266 kilometers with an inclination of 97.61 degrees. But the operational orbit will be up at around 560 kilometers with that same inclination. Each of these version 2 mini satellites weighs approximately 1,763 pounds, equivalent to 800 kilograms. Now, once again, just to give you a context, each of these new optimized version of Starlink satellites weighs around 1,268 pounds, equivalent to 575 kilograms, which is about 22% lighter than the original version 2 mini design. So that's the difference in weight for only one Starlink satellites for the optimized version compared to the version 2 mini satellites. But if we consider the whole batch getting deployed and the highest of 29 satellites, as of now, SpaceX deployed the optimized versions. That makes a huge difference compared to the previous version 2 mini satellites. Starlink satellite uses custom-built star tracker to find their position, altitude, and orientation for optimal broadband throughput. Additionally, they have an onboard autonomous collision avoidance system that uses the US Department of Defense debris tracking database for avoiding collisions with space junk, other spacecraft, and other Starlink satellites, all autonomously. Now, here is a bit of context to understand that why an autonomous collision avoidance system is so significant. A SpaceX report published last year stated that Starlink satellite carries about 275 275 collision avoidance maneuvers each day, and in that course of previous 6 months when this report got published, Starlink satellite performed around 50,000 such collision avoidance maneuvers. So I guess these reported numbers made you understand the importance of an onboard autonomous collision avoidance system and its criticality. Hopefully that gave you a bit more of insight. Now, here are some quick fun facts. We know SpaceX recently started launching their optimized version 2 mini satellites, starting with Group 11-8 launch back on January 21st, 2025. But prior to this launch, SpaceX launched 37 times of its optimized version 2 mini variants, bringing the total to 1007 number of satellites. So already just from January to August, they passed the 1000 mark for the optimized version satellites. That's another milestone for them, I must say, crossing the 1000 mark just only for the optimized Starlink version 2 minis launch. Once again, just to clarify, today's payload does not consist of any upgraded optimized Starlink version 2 minis or any direct-to-cell satellites on board. This batch features the regular baseline version 2 mini satellites which you used to have on previous launches. Now, I won't be discussing the optimization for the Starlink satellite as today's payload does not consist any of them. We do have the detailed discussion about that in our previous live streams, which contain the optimized Starlink launch. You can check them out, or else you can wait for any upcoming optimized version satellites launch, and we will be discussing them on that stream. Well, I know, guys, it's still early in the stream, but just a quick request: if this stream fuels your love for space, give this stream a like. It helps the stream get discovered by amazing space enthusiasts like you who are joining us right now. Would be super grateful for your kind support. Now, please allow us a couple of seconds and to check whether the launch is on time or not and to stay updated. As of now, SpaceX is currently sticking with their current liftoff time of 10:04 a.m. Pacific time, so no worries. Now let's move on and take a look at the booster supporting today's Starlink 17-6 mission launch. The booster with tail number 1081 supporting today's flight, a mid-age booster you can say with 16 previous flights in its record, including 8 non-Starlink missions like SpaceX Crew 7 for NASA under Commercial Crew Program, which marked the 11th overall crewed orbital flight for Crew Dragon spacecraft. A commercial resupply services mission to the International Space Station, that is CRS-29, which marked the 9th flight for SpaceX under NASA's CRS Phase 2 contract. Next up, NASA's space mission. And recently, just a month ago, you can say, it launched the NASA's Tracer's twin Starlink satellite. Excuse me, twin satellite mission, not the Starlink. It's NASA's Tracer twin satellites. Also on board was 5 other rideshare satellites at that mission. Next up, the Transporter 10 mission is SpaceX's rideshare mission, which launched 53 satellites, and another one recently, the Transporter 13. It also launched the European Space Agency's Earth Gear mission, which is a joint European-Japanese satellite under European Space Agency's Earth Explorer program. And lastly, the non-Starlink mission supported by today's booster was the NROL 186 mission for National Reconnaissance Office. Additionally, this booster supported 8 Starlink missions to date, now awaiting its 17th flight, just 30 minutes away from now. The last mission supported by today's booster was NASA's Tracer mission, launching 7 satellites in total on July 23rd of this year. And the booster's turnaround time as of today is 30 days. Worth mentioning, today's mission will be the 13th consecutive launch of this booster from pad Slick 4 East. Also, today the booster will have its 9th landing on Of Course I Still Love You to date. Previously, it made 7 ground landing and 8 landings on Of Course I Still Love You, and 1 time on a shortfall of Gravitas droneship in its record. So that's all the insights for today's supporting booster. Now let's move on and take a look at the bar graph showing the Falcon 9 launches each year. Before this upcoming launch, SpaceX completed its 101st Falcon 9 launch for this year with United States Space Force 36, also known as USS F-36 OTV-8 mission, which launched from Kennedy Space Center yesterday on 21st of August 2025. And SpaceX is now having 40 more than the launches made in year 2022, and 5 more number of launches made in 2023. Now, with this upcoming launch of Starlink Group 17-6 mission, the bar graph shows 102 number of Falcon 9 launches for 2025. As of now, SpaceX is less than halfway to reach the number of launches made last year, that is in 2024. And with today's Starlink mission launch, SpaceX will be just 30 behind of 2024's total. Once again, SpaceX is targeting another record-breaking year with around 170 launches planned for them, surpassing last year's highest annual launch count of 134 launches in total, including 2 Falcon Heavy missions. Also, this year we have an upcoming Falcon Heavy mission for NASA's Griffin. Well, that's an ambitious target they are having for this year, but let's hope they pull it off. Now, just a reminder, SpaceX has some major milestones to reach this year, and I must say that this year is a record-breaking year for SpaceX, having so many records already for them as of now in the month of August. The commercial GTO-1 launch marked the 500th successful Falcon 9 mission, while the June 12th Starlink launch from Vandenberg became the 500th overall successful mission for SpaceX. Just a day later, on June 13th, the Starlink launch from Cape Canaveral, it marked the completion of the first generation of their direct-to-cell constellation. And recently, they achieved the 100th Falcon 9 launch for this year. Back-to-back incredible achievement for SpaceX. Now, just to give you a reference on the increase in their launch rate from last year, SpaceX hit their 100th launch on October 20th back in 2024, but this year they reached that milestone in the month of August. That's 2 months earlier than last year. Now, moving on, I won't be discussing the pre-launch timeline since it's a typical Falcon 9 launch for Starlink with absolutely no deviation in any of the pre-launch events. While you can track the pre-launch timeline updating live on the upper left-hand side of your screen. However, there is only one point which is different in today's pre-launch timeline compared to the East Coast flights, which is that the strong back reclining process at Vandenberg differs from that at East Coast flights, that is from Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center. Here at Vandenberg, we recline the strong back 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9, whereas at Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center, we recline the strong back about 1.5 degrees or 2 away from the Falcon 9. So that's the only difference in today's pre-launch schedule, as this is a Vandenberg flight. Once again, let me remind you, SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff time of Falcon 9 from Vandenberg Space Force Base at 10:04 a.m. Pacific Time, 1:04 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, August 22nd of 2025. Now, you guys, just to have a request to all of you, having your support really inspires us to push forward and give our best to meet what you hope for. If this stream fuels your love for space, give this stream a like. It's kind of fine-tuning the trajectory of our mission to build a community with amazing space enthusiasts like you. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so that you won't miss a single launch update. Here at AstroYonder, we believe together we will build the ultimate constellation of space enthusiasts. Would be super happy and grateful to have you with us in our upcoming journey here. Now let's move on. We are just approximately 16 minutes away from the webcast to begin from SpaceX's end. And so let's get done with all the insights for today's mission launch. Now let's move ahead and briefly step through the trajectory for today's Starlink mission. Falcon 9 leaving the pad from Space Launch Complex 4 East from Vandenberg Space Force Base with a batch of 24 Starlink satellites for a southwest trajectory, drifting away from the coast of Southern California, heading into a low Earth orbit. That is to the 17th shell of second generation Starlink mega constellation, indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line you see indicates where Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later, leaving California's coast. Today, it's of course I Still Love You droneship supporting today's mission here at the West Coast. This will be the 147th successful droneship landing on Of Course I Still Love You if all goes well. Now some technical recovery specifics for those who are interested. The planned booster recovery is approximately 500 and please excuse me. The planned booster recovery is approximately 595 kilometers with estimated fairing recovery approximately 650 kilometers downrange. And the stage 2 debris reentry will be in the South Pacific Ocean on its second orbit. Now, speaking of droneship, here are some of the stats for droneships. As of today, as we know, currently there are 3 in SpaceX's droneship fleet. Of the 3, Of Course I Still Love You is based here at California, and other 2 just read the instructions and a short follow-up Gravitas station in Florida. We anticipate the addition of a 4th droneship as promised by SpaceX earlier, but currently we don't know that when that will be happening, and that's because we are having no information regarding that. But maybe that can happen late this year or who knows, early next year. Now let's move on and quickly discuss a little bit about the fairing recovery. SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve both the fairing halves from Pacific waters. The 2 halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly farther, approximately 55 kilometers downrange from where the first stage lands on the drone ship Of Course I Still Love You, after they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachutes. Both of the fairing halves are, and not these only, SpaceX manufactures all the fairings in-house with the total cost of 2 halves being nearly $6 million. So it's of no wonder that why SpaceX aims to recover the fairing for repetitive use. And also it mirrors their approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability and sustainability. Now right now on your screen you can see how a fairing recovery looks like. Although the recovery vessel on your screen is DUG performing the recovery operations at the Atlantic Ocean, but today's supporting recovery vessel is Go Beyond here at the Pacific waters. Other recovery vessels at the East Coast, DUG and Go Cosmos, are currently waiting for the next assignment, while Bob is heading back to Port Canaveral after supporting the previous USSF 36 mission. Now let me just check in a while that the liftoff time, well, it's still the same, no worries, absolutely fine. Now we are approximately 10 minutes away from the webcast to begin. So let's get done with all the stats we have for you to share with. Now before that, once again, would like to make a short request to all of you joining us. If you feel we are adding value to your viewing experience, please consider giving this stream a like. It's like a fuel for YouTube's algorithm rocket to bring in more space lovers and helping rocket fans discover this stream. And also it helps others to join our community with amazing space enthusiasts just like you. Also consider about smashing the subscribe button and turning on the bell notification. And as we are burning our all-day propellant to bring you streams with all the insights and stats, we expect your little bit of kind support, and that would really inspire us and to keep up with our hard work to meet your expectation. Would be super grateful for your kind support. Now let's move on and let's discuss some of the stats related to today's Starlink mission. Today's launch marks the 530th SpaceX's overall launch and the 73rd dedicated Starlink launch of this year. With this Starlink launch, Falcon 9 is going to have its 517th Falcon 9 launch to date. 17th flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster supporting today's mission, with tail number 1081 being in action after 51 days. Well, by that, being in action after 30 days. Well, by that I mean the booster's turnaround time is 30 days as of now. Previously supporting NASA's precious mission back from this pad only here at Slick 4 East. Today's mission marks the 102nd Falcon 9 launch and SpaceX's 105th overall launch of 2025. This will be the 456th Falcon booster reflight to date. That is the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. And today's launch marks the 142nd orbital launch for SpaceX, launching from Space Launch Complex 4 East, and the 210th overall orbital launch from Pad Slick 4 East. With the success of this mission, SpaceX will have a remarkable 9,464 Starlink satellites, which includes 674 dedicated direct-to-cell satellites launched to date. Once again, just to remind you, back in June 13, 2025 this year, with Starlink Group 12-26 launch from Cape Canaveral, SpaceX completed their first generation of direct-to-cell constellation. Now let's move on to some reusability stats. This launch marks the 440th Falcon 9 booster reflight to date. This will be the 147th landing on, of course, I Still Love You droneship. 17th landing of the first stage booster with tail number 10981 supporting today's mission. And with this mission's first stage landing, SpaceX rack ups their 397th overall droneship landing, marking 471st Falcon 9 landing so far, and the 490th SpaceX's overall landing to date. Well, soon SpaceX will be reaching the milestone of having their 400 overall droneship landing. Currently, just 4 behind of that 400 mark to reach. Well, just now here, just a quick note. Already you might have noticed that we are not counting the landing failure on the just read the instructions drone ship during the Starlink Group 12-20 mission this year, as it was a partial success. So there's a difference of 1 in the Falcon 9 and overall landing stats compared to that what is listed on SpaceX's website. So please don't get confused with those landing stats for Falcon 9 and overall landings for SpaceX. Now, speaking of landing, here are some of the stats related to drone ship landings made prior to today's mission. Today, it's of course I Still Love You supporting here at the West Coast, which previously had 146 successful landings out of 153 overall landing attempts, previously supporting the recent Starlink Group 17-5 mission launch back in August 18th. Once again, please note that these droneship landing stats on your screen currently are excluding today's mission. These are prior to today's launch. Now let's move on and take a look at some of the key stats for SpaceX launches, specifically for this year, that is for 2025, including today's mission. With today's mission, SpaceX will be having its 105th launch of this year. And out of those, 73 are Starlink missions, including this one. 29 were non-Starlink missions for commercial and government organizations, and 3 Starship launches. 96 of these missions using a reuse booster, including this one as well. Now, if we look into the geographical distribution for all of the launches, we get that SpaceX is currently having 66 launches from East Coast. On the West Coast, they will be having their 36 launches with today's mission, that is from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base. And as of now, 3 launches from Gulf Coast at Starbase in Texas and 2 Super Heavy booster catches with Starship's 7th and 8th test flights. On Flight 9, no Super Heavy booster catch was attempted, and as mentioned before, for the upcoming Starship Flight 10, there will be no booster catch attempt as well. As of now, the Super Heavy booster 16 rolled out to the pad already. Now just Ship 37 rollout is left with Starships stacking. And with that, we will be good to go for the upcoming Starship 10 test flight, currently targeting Sunday, August 24th, with a launch window of 1 hour, opening at 6:30 p.m. Central Daytime. Now moving on with the stats for today's mission launch. For landings, they will be nailing it for the 100th time this year. Most of the landings are on drone ship with 87 landings. As of now, of course, I Still Love You is leading among the drone ship fleet to have number of landings on them for this year, and today it will be having its 31st landing. And for ground landings, they pulled off 13 of them. Well, landing zone 1 had 6 landings for this year, and a total of 53 landings on it, with the SpaceX's Crew 11 launch, but that marked the last landing for Landing Zone 1 for SpaceX. SpaceX confirmed that they will be continuing with their booster landing operations at the Landing Zone 2, with no specific date mentioned for decommissioning of the Landing Zone 2 as of now. But currently, SpaceX is working on adding a landing pad at the East Coast in order to retain their return to launch site capabilities. And I guess it will be a single landing zone, unlike 2, which we are having now. Prior to this launch, the success rate for ground landings is 98.93%. For droneship landing, it is 97.06%, and the overall landing success rate is 97.41%. Today is the 166th launch since last mission failure. And apart from reaching the 100th launch of this year, which is 2 months earlier than last year, here you can see the most launches in a calendar quarter to date is 46 launches, including one Starship launch in the second quarter of 2025 this year, which was previously 42 launches, including two Starship launches back in the fourth quarter of 2024. So you may notice, you can notice that there's a substantial increase in the launch rate for this year. Once again, this page of stats are prior to today's launch, and we have 165 successful launches since last mission failure, 75 successful landings since last landing failure, 374 missions with at least one reuse fairing, and approximately 760 number of fairing halves were reused prior to today's launch, with a fairing halves to reach a max of 32 times being reused. Now moving on to this year's orbital launches, including this one. With this 189th orbital launch of this year, United States is leading with 119 launches with 63%, followed by China with 48 launches, Russia with 11 launches. They recently had two back-to-back launches, one Soyuz 2.1B variant and another for Angara 1.2 variant, two launches by Japan and three by India. Meanwhile, Europe with having 5 launches and Australia having their first launch, which marked the first Australian-made Ares rockets on its test flight to launch from its own country's soil. Now moving on to orbital launches for 2025 by rocket variations. Here is a pie chart on your screen. Falcon 9 gearing up for its 102nd launch this year. Now, meanwhile, while you check the pie chart, let me see if the stream is rolling or not. Yep, it's rolling. So let's move on to the stream. Currently, they are playing some pre-launch tune. So there is absolutely nothing to worry about, that you are not going to miss out anything. Please provide me a couple of seconds to set up the stream for you guys. So there we go. We are getting that live view from Vandenberg Space Force Base as Falcon 9 is gearing up for its 102nd launch for this year. We are currently pressurizing the tanks for strong back retract. Here, here we add a little bit of gas to stiffen up the tanks, which helps those clamp arms just underneath the payload fairing with a solid structure holding the Falcon 9 to open up. Hopefully we will be getting those close-up views. There we go. And currently you can see those clamp arms to open up. Next, we will be reclining the strong back about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 since this is a Vandenberg flight. Now, while we are watching this live view of Falcon 9, a couple of important steps were completed. The spacecraft team switched to the internal power a few minutes ago. The fueling of the Falcon 9's first stage is finished, meaning all the RP-1 propellant is now on board. We are still loading the liquid oxygen on both the first and second stages, and will be listening in a couple of minutes for LOX load completion for both the stages. We are also chilling the 9 Merlin engines on the Falcon 9's first stage back from T-7 minutes. So there we go, we got the call out for stage 1 LOX load completion. We are still loading the LOX on the second stage, and that will finish up just inside T-2 minute mark, and we'll be listening in the call out for that as well in a couple of seconds from now. And as I was mentioning, we are currently chilling the 9 Marine engines on the Falcon 9's first stage back from T-7 minutes when we open up the pre-valves, which allows the propellant down to the engines to get them prepared for the ignition just before the liftoff. Next up, we will get the call out for stage 2 LOX load completion. Well, they didn't say they didn't. Okay, fine. There we go. We got the call out for stage 2 LOX load completion. All the propellants are now on board the Falcon 9 with complete 1 million pounds of propellant. Currently, we are beginning to vent down the pressure that was remaining in the tubing on the strong back. That's why you can see those clouds coming out there. It is absolutely normal, and rather, I must say, it's an healthy indicator of launch coming up. Next event, T-1 minute, we should hear the call out that the Falcon 9 flight computers are in startup and controlling the rocket for the remainder of the countdown.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Right on time, Falcon 9 flight computers on stage 1 and stage 2 are running the rocket to the last minute of count. Now let's listen to the go call out.
Launch directors, go for launch.
Absolutely good. SpaceX launch director giving the final go for the launch. We are getting close to T-30 seconds. All systems continues to remain go for the launch of Falcon 9 and a batch of 24 Starlink satellites. As today it's a daytime launch, we will be getting spectacular views from both the stages. So now let's sit back and enjoy the liftoff view of the Falcon 9.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff. Go SpaceX, go Starlink.
Vehicles pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
With a loud thunder roar and spectacular views, we have a successful liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower, and we got some healthy call out as well. Falcon 9's propulsion is nominal. We are in 40 seconds into the flight approximately, with 27 Starlinks into low Earth orbit. Some good more healthy callouts there.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Power and telemetry is nominal, getting awesome views from those live ground tracking views. Falcon 9 is currently supersonic and exceeded Mach 1, is faster than the speed of sound, and we got the max Q call out. We have now throttled the 9 marine engines back up to full power. Falcon 9 is through the period of maximum dynamic stress on the vehicle currently. Next up, we will get the call out for MVAC engine chill.
MVAC chill.
There we go, right on time. We now started to chill down the MVAC engine on the Falcon 9's second stage prior to its ignition, just after successful stage separation. Coming up, 3 events in rapid succession: the shutdown of main engine on first stage, that is main engine cutoff, also known as MECO, followed by stage separation and ignition of the second stage MVAC engine, also known as SES-1, which will boost the payload into low Earth orbit. So let's listen to those call out with this absolutely stunning visuals from Falcon 9's first stage. And we did got an healthy call out. The Falcon 9's trajectory is nominal.
Main engine cut off. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition.
So there we go. We got all the back-to-back callouts for all the back-to-back milestones. Now expecting the confirmation callout for fairing separation. And on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see those titanium hypersonic grid fins to slowly begin deploying.
Fairing separation confirmed.
We got the call out that the fairing has successfully separated. We got the visual confirmation as well. Currently, we are getting some stunning views from both the stages of Falcon 9.
Nominal trajectories.
There we go. We got some healthy call out that both the stages are following the nominal trajectory. Right now, we are looking at the view from Falcon 9's first stage, which continues under the guidance of grid fins and gravity as it descends back to Earth. Now, you may notice that the altitude on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, the maximum it will be reaching before it will be getting lower, that will be the apogee for the Falcon 9's first stage before descending back down to the landing on droneship. Of course, I still love you station in Pacific Ocean. Currently, I think the apogee for Falcon 9's first stage is 117 kilometers. Second stage, meanwhile, is in middle of its 6-minute burn and is on its way into the parking orbit. Now, today's mission is marking the 7th Starlink mission to Sun-Synchronous orbit inclination, with first being Starlink Group 17-1 launch in over 2 years, following the Group 3-5 launch back in 2023. Previously, we had 5 launches under Group 3, each deploying 46 number of version 1.5 satellites to Sun-Synchronous orbit with an altitude of 560 kilometers with same inclination as of today, 97.6 degrees. Similarly, today's Group 17-6 mission will target in near polar orbit with same inclination and altitude. And this sun-synchronous orbit is intended to improve Starlink's coverage in remote polar regions to achieve zero dead zones. Previously, sun-synchronous orbit launches were just meant for 1.5 variant, but beginning with Group 17 launches, it's going to have the version 2 minis as well. Now, just to update you guys that recently the Starlink Group 13-4 mission also launched to this sun-synchronous orbit, having the same inclination of 97.6 degrees. And also two classified payloads were present on that mission and identified as USA 549 and USA 550 by US government. Now enough of technical jargon. I know it's making you guys boring. So we got the call out stage 1 entry burn startup. We just lit three of those 9 million 1D engines on the Falcon 9's first stage. We are rapidly slowing down the vehicle. You can see on the bottom left hand side of your screen from the telemetry.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And there's the confirmation of stage 1 entry burn shutdown, and that that stage 1 entry burn lasted just around 22 seconds. Now next up we will have stage 1 landing burn, a major milestone in today's post launch timeline. And also we will be hearing the call out for stage 2 FTS being saved. That means the stage 2 will be done with its orbital insertion burn successfully. Next up, stage 1 transonic call out. We are expecting for that.
Stage 1 transonic.
We just heard the call out. Stage 1 is transonic, meaning we are now traveling slower than the speed of sound as it heads towards the landing. Speaking of landing, we are less than 30 seconds away from that. Next up, we will have stage 1 landing burn. Meanwhile, we got the call out for stage 2 FTS being saved, which means the second stage is up with its orbital insertion burn. And we got the call out for stage 1 landing burn. Great views of that landing burn with center E9 engine now lit. We are slowing down the vehicle furthermore very rapidly. Should be seeing those landing legs deploy any seconds now.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Stage 1 landing legs deployed.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there we have it, successful 471st landing of an orbital class Falcon 9 rocket. Coming up next, we'll have the second stage engine cutoff, that is SECO 1. And I guess we lost the visuals. And following that event of SECO 1, the second stage with payload on board will enter into about 45 minutes of course phase as vehicle ascends to its target orbit for the payload deployment. And we got the visual confirmation for SECO 1 and call out for nominal orbit insertion. Now about the payload deployment, that will happen approximately T plus 1 hour, 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the flight. Now today's launch marks the 530th successful mission, with landing marking their 490th success, which also marked 292nd dedicated Starlink launch for SpaceX. So that's all for today's webcast. So with that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. But before that, we want to thank all of you for tuning into our live launch coverage. It's really impossible to do this broadcast without you and your encouragement. So thank you for your continued support of what we do here at AstroYonder. Please be sure to check out our social media handle on X for the latest happenings in space industry and updates on upcoming launches. We hope you enjoyed the stream. Really appreciate everyone joining us for today's launch. Once again, thanks for tuning. This is AstroYonder Live and me, Dipta, signing off for now, and we will see you on the next launch coverage.